So, Gary, do I have your permission to use this interview for the film that I'm working on, Nimitz Encounters?
Yes, sir.
So, if you could just state your name and your rank at the time.
At the time, I was Gary P. Voorhees, Fire Controlman 3rd Class. I was an Aegis computer technician and a CEC operator.
So, paint a picture of the ship you were on and what your job was.
All right, so I was on the USS Princeton, CG-59. My job was to load crypto and take care of the CEC machinery and all the mainframe computers that run the Aegis weapon system.
So when you had flight operations going on and you guys were in CEC, what does CEC stand for, and what did you see in your fellow workers there?
CEC's Cooperative Engagement Capability System. It uses a system just to converge all of our environmental data and our weapons data to be able to fire non-line of sight and to give us operational capabilities of all of our ships.
And what does CIC stand for, and what is that in your ship? What is that room?
Combat information, and it's basically where everything is. It's where all our big screens are. It's where all our consoles are. It's basically where everything is going. That's where all the triggers and the buttons are pushed.
And that week of November 10th, around there, what was the first time you became aware of some unknown contacts?
Well, actually, it was I got a call from spy guys, which there's an entire different Aegis tech that runs the actual spy radar itself, and they said that they've got a bunch of clutter and that they need to take the system down to calibrate the system to try to get rid of the clutter, because they got basically invisible tracks that are coming up that can't be there, and so they're basically insane tracks, and so they took the entire system down. They calibrated everything, brought it back up, and the only thing it did was make the tracks more clear. So then at that point, they knew that they were actually tracking objects. And for, it's 14 years ago, so it was between 3 and 5 days, we tracked a bunch of unknown aircraft. And then at a certain point, we did a F-18 interrogation of it. And I remember, because all week we've been looking at these things through the big eyes. We've got our own personal binoculars. We've been staring at these things flying around, and it was everybody was kind of, some people were excited. Some people didn't know about it because a lot of the information was still classified. So we didn't. Obviously we weren't telling the deck seamen about the unknowns we're tracking, but anybody that had clearance, anybody that had anything to do with radars, we all knew. And so I was spending a lot of time in combat, and I was spending a lot of time, just kind of sitting in my computer room watching the data and just making sure my recordings are going, because I was also responsible for all the recordings for CIC. So all the talkbacks, all the data going over all the consoles, all that runs through our system, because we were also testing what they called Q70 at the time, which was the new baseline of Aegis at the time. It was a hybrid system with an old system and a new system tied in together.
And so at this point, you guys are pretty sure that this isn't radar clutter or
yeah, we were 100% positive it was not, and we sat around just wondering why they're not doing something about it. Why are they not checking this out? Why aren't we firing at them? Why aren't we, they're invading our airspace? So it's like, we were all kind of sitting there just in the dark about exactly what we were dealing with. And then the day they did the intercept, everybody with a clearance was sitting in somewhere where there was a link to the land, and we were all watching the actual interrogation as it was happening. And I remember it was just, it was absolutely amazing. We're seeing these things up close. It's one thing to see it from a heck of a distance through the big eyes, and the big eyes are pretty good binoculars, and you still couldn't quite grasp the shapes. You knew that it was there, and that's why they were called Tic Tacs, but you couldn't grasp the shape or the design or the way that it looked. And in the video, you could see it. You could see the way that they looked. You see the way that it moved, that it actually changed shapes, and it was just the oddest thing. And I was like, oh my God, that's absolutely amazing. And then seeing what it was doing, it was going to over 25,000 feet and then coming down in no time, zero time at all. I mean, like, you could blink and it was already there. It was so ridiculously fast. And the turns that it made and the way that they moved were, as far as I know, beyond the laws of physics. So it was, to me, amazing that there was another layer of physics that we haven't even achieved yet, and that for me, it was an open door to something new. So I was super excited about it, and then I went back to actually make a recording of it off the secret LAN, so on my secret computer, so that I could study it and rewatch it. And by the time I got back down to the computer that I watched it on, because we had it downloaded onto that hard drive to make a copy, it was already gone.
And you're talking about a lengthier version of the one that we see now.
Yeah, it was a much clearer video. You could see the shape of the ship. You could see it, moving. You could see, and what's funny is, even when I think back to it, as indistinct as it was completely discernible when you were seeing it. So it moved, and I know it changed shape. But it's like, honestly, it's hard to remember.
Been a long time.
Yeah.
And before you saw that, because you said you saw it in real time, Commander Fravor didn't have the atfleer on his jet, and his wingmen, they were wings clean. Were you able to see any video from him, or did you hear his radio?
I'm not sure exactly what plane the video came from, only that I actually got to see the video as it was being recorded. And it was the same video that was released. So one of the planes had to have been rolling.
Yeah, in the second flight with the guy Chad Underwood, he's the one that filmed it.
Okay.
So after Fravor came back, he told those guys get a pod, and then they went up and filmed it. Okay.
So then I wasn't even aware of Favor's flight then.
And do you hear the radio too?
Anytime I was in combat, I popped in. Anytime it seemed like everybody was getting a little excited, I'd pop on and listen to what they were saying. And seeing the tracks, they would actually go faster than our pulses. So we were the tracks, when you saw them, it would almost be like it was if you could actually see the track in real time, it would have been like a dotted line, because we weren't hitting it every time, because it was moving so quickly. But it was honestly amazing.
And you guys, you weren't the spy guy, so you weren't literally selecting one of the targets and then watching it, or did you see the playback?
No, we weren't. The OSs deal with the consoles, the operational specialists. They're the console runners. We're the grunt techs. We get to see all the back wiring, and the consoles, and we got access to CIC, and we got the clearances to be everywhere. So I was just a fly on the wall the whole time. So I guess I'm first-hand witness to everything. I was glued to those contacts. Every time there was a new one, I got excited. And
what about? So you guys decide, hey, let's go up and look at these things through the big eyes. Mm-hmm. Describe what that day was like.
Well, there's actually they finally restricted it, but for a while we were just taking turns. There was just everybody that was actually interested in it was just up there, and believe it or not, there was a good chunk of people that just pretended like it was just another day.
And describe it, because I think that people that watch this don't know the structure of the boat and what those things. It's a big mounted.
Yeah. So if you go and if you look at the CG-59, the USS Princeton, you look at the forward of the structure where you actually see the glass for the bridge. So, and on both sides of the bridge, there's these platforms that jut